So how is it relevant that, in essence, you can plant 130 seeds of investments, and just because one could potentially fail, that you decide not to plant all 130 seeds? Stay to the end to find out how that's relevant, how that relates to a greater investing strategy. Welcome to the news. So in essence, in today's episode, we're trying to focus on that initial concept, that initial strategy, that initial mindset that prevents many people, if not most people, from investing to begin with. 130 seeds is a lot, even 13 seeds is a lot. That's a healthy, diversified portfolio is 13 seeds, for example. But a lot of people do not take a step into the first seed because they think that it's possible that one could fail. But in essence, when you're starting with 13 or 130, whichever in between, if you are bogged out by the concept and the mindset that in essence one could fail, so it makes you not want to plant the whole garden in essence, then it's sort of a unique reflection of how to try to recheck in with yourself to be able to try to make logical sense out of that whole process and that whole problematic way of looking at things necessarily if you want to try to grow wealth by diversifying and making a little bit of a diversified portfolio. So you want to not invest, which means you do want to invest by diversifying and getting into the concept that yes, something could fail conceptually, but you have diversification, so there's in essence where that garden could grow. Nonetheless, that garden could grow because sometimes seeds don't necessarily grow, but the other ones, when the science is right, when nature is right, when there's photosynthesis and all the things are in place, such as energy, such as water, such as maintenance, such as the right systematics, such as the right maintaining parties to be able to look over the garden, for example, that it is sometimes possible for assets to be able to grow. So that is something a little bit unique, especially when you're trying to diversify and look at like 130 different seeds and just try to grow an actual garden and not be put off by the concept that one potential seed could fail, because that is typical in nature actually for seeds to fail perhaps. So when that is the nature of things in mind, then you go forward with the essence of looking to grow a garden as opposed to looking to grow one seed, one sprout, one plant, one germinated seed that can be the whole basket of eggs in one basket. What you're not supposed to do is put all the eggs in one basket nonetheless. So moving on to another type of, that's like a strategy that is also known as being safe as opposed to being sorry. Be safe as opposed to sorry. Being safe as opposed to sorry. That saying especially is ideal, if not best, used in investing ultimately, because in essence you've got safe and you've got risky ways of going about things. And if possible, to be able to focus on the safe methodology, that in essence is key. That is super useful. That is super interesting to be able to leverage that in the way of investing, because in essence you've got the mindset to be able to stay safe on the front end. On the back end, you can take more risk if you feel like it. Once you have a little bit of a foundation, you've experienced a bed of happening growth, a bed of functional growth, a garden that is growing from different angles, for example. Ooh, yeah. So you want to focus on having some diversification and not be put off by the concept that one of the seeds could conceptually fail. So that is super relevant. Another way to be able to try to change the angle of looking at the idea of investing is to be able to try to change the mindset into the ability to try to actively be a gardener. To actively be a gardener as opposed to try to put your seeds in other people's gardens, for example. And actively trying to do that is by using games. The mindset of games, in essence, the essence of games. That's what Think Tech Change for Games is all about. It's trying to bring the essence of entrepreneurship to the world so the global philanthropy energy grid can be filled by all people in the world trying to fill the world with philanthropy. Because in essence, entrepreneurship is about solving problems. So one of the ways to be able to use gamification and games to be able to try to chime into the essence of entrepreneurship, to be able to start solving problems in the world for everybody to be able to participate in this process, is by leveraging the essence of the looking at extreme sports. You have skateboards, you have snowboards, you have surfboards, for example, you have sled boards, you have various different boards that are like extreme sports. And one of them, which is sort of a unique way to look at it, to be able to develop business music, similar to the weird music that you hear in the background of some of these podcasts, is a keyboard. A keyboard, and I don't necessarily even mean the keyboard in the sense of a music keyboard, but we are talking about business music after all. So I'm talking about a music keyboard for the business music keyboard for a computer in essence. So in essence, that is a game in of itself. Like playing, like snowboarding, playing skateboarding, in essence, those are boards, and those in essence don't yield assets. But if you get on the right wavelengths, you get on the right internet, you get on the right research with that keyboard, and you ride that extreme sport of riding that keyboard in the right effective way, and do some research in an effective way, then you can ride that game to be able to get in a more populated way, more densely populated surroundings of people, and also places on the internet that have more densely populated assets that can drive your board, that can drive your keyboard into the direction of attaining more assets because you're riding wavelengths, and you're getting onto some different wavelengths that hopefully are in the direction of functional trends in the way of riding wavelengths that connect you with assets. Assets are what grow an investing portfolio, after all. And so finally, we'll focus on how to be able to, in the future, how we, personally, Think Tech Change for Games is trying to leverage the keyboard, in quotes, board process to be able to try to connect with other people, to be able to bring more value to our company, to be able to bring more monetary value, and especially philanthropy energy value to our brand. In essence, Think Tech Change for Games, Think Tech Change for Game Studios, by in essence trying to develop philanthropy trajectories somehow, by trying to make philanthropy trajectories as opposed to trying to make money making energy clusters, in essence, that have the ability to just make money by putting the right people in place to be able to develop processes where the right people are in place, so that in essence the best possible processes are in place to be able to make money. It's about trying to develop philanthropy trajectories where in essence we're like a stock, you want it to go up in essence, but we're trying to triangulate different energies and different pockets of energies and different groups of energies, like a production of a movie, for example, different productions of different movies, for example, that are trying to play out in the form of philanthropy and have impact philanthropy. So they're philanthropy trajectories, and thereby that's where we want to, in proxy, be able to earn money and gain monetary energy as the being in proxy of developing philanthropy energy, developing in proxy good deeds around the world, in essence, and clustering those and packaging those good deeds into philanthropy trajectory clusters in the form of a brokerage, for example. So if we're trying to sell assets around the world, including real estate, and packaging those with within videos to be able to make peculiar stories, we want to try to lead by example by developing stories within these stories where we're trying to sell assets like real estate and other maybe jewelry and other things of this nature, where we're trying to package these things. So we're trying to develop stories where we lead by example to develop philanthropy and develop philanthropy energy, thereby so it catches on and other people see this process and developing therefore groups and clusters of philanthropy energy by making philanthropy trajectories, philanthropy trajectory little clusters, in essence. And that's what our brokerage foundationally hopes to intend to do, is to try to be able to manipulate society to be able to develop philanthropy cluster trajectories, meaning if it works out, if it's functional, the metric that we're measuring is philanthropy energy. If we're making impact, if we're making a splash in the ocean, if we're making waves in the ocean of society, in the waves of among other people and societies and different cultures and societies in every single country, then that therefore is hopefully influencing clusters and packages of philanthropy energy trajectories. That is our personal process to be able to try to diversify our own asset portfolio, to be able to also influence and implement and redirect a trajectory, if you will, of our own energy as a company, as a brand, and the purpose for the brand, Think Tech Change for Games, Think Tech Change for Game Studios, to be able to try to functionally be able to, across the lay of the land of all the countries, to be able to develop ecosystems and brokers and brokerages and agents to be able to reverb that concept and conceptualization of developing packages, which then therefore turn themselves into clusters, which are philanthropy energy trajectory clusters, philanthropy energy trajectory clusters, by making these stories, making these narratives, filming these narratives, so that in essence people are able to catch on by also being able to buy our asset packages. But then at the same time we're using stories to connect these video stories to be able to connect these asset packages, so that in essence that potential process has the ability to lead by example for philanthropy and philanthropy energy and philanthropy cluster trajectories, therefore and thereby. Once we set off a trajectory cluster, meaning we send out the video, we distribute the process, we distribute the media, we distribute the communication goods and media out through the pipeline or through the wires of communication out there in the wider media distribution land, that in essence that distribution is meant to cause a cluster of philanthropy trajectory clusters. That is what, in essence, we're trying to focus on, is develop those philanthropy energy cluster trajectories, more or less, as story developers, as media developers, as conceptual distributors of messages and communication to the greater, wider land of how we're trying to organize our brand. And that's all for now, for the most part. So let's also focus on helping clear the animal shelters, clear the animal shelters, clear the animal shelters as well. We want to clear the animal shelters so that animals, we have the ability to have them out of animal shelters so they're not dying in animal shelters. And we want to foster shelter animals. We want to foster shelter animals and adopt shelter animals. Also share the message that people can foster shelter animals, because I don't think many people know. And also we want to hire shelter animals as healers, shelter animals as healers across communities, and hire animals across communities as healers, because they have healing energy and they have the ability to guide people into better asset developing portfolio managers to be able to plant their own seeds, because they have more of a guide by these healers, these healing energies which cleanse the energy and the mindset to be able to make greater and greater asset portfolios. In essence, that's all for now. Thanks again. Ding Tech Change for Games, Ding Tech Change for Games Studios. Peace.